Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 1st meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of all the exits around the room in case of emergency. Now join us as we salute the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda this evening is a continued public hearing for Wright Homes. The applicants are seeking to revise lot lines for a formally approved 3-lot subdivision. It's been changed. Just today we received some new plans via email that would correct the cover sheet. And Mr. Martin is here tonight. Do you want to make a presentation, Ernie?
Good evening. As a result of the last public hearing, there was some concerns about where we had proposed to move the common driveway. After that meeting, I spoke to the client and we said, you know, let's bring the location of that driveway and that access back to where it was on the original subdivision that was approved some 7 or 8 years ago. The only change that we are doing, we are changing some of the lot lines for lot 1 and 2. We're trying to in part follow some of the existing stone walls. We feel that a physical barrier makes good neighbors sometimes. And number 2, on lot 3, the geometric shape of lot 3 is not changing. However, we're planning on taking the house area and the septic area and moving that closer to the road. So that will require a new septic design, which has been completed. And there is an existing well that's located to the back of the property. I didn't realize it, but the chairman did. And Stanley confirmed that it was in fact drilled many years ago, and he just didn't tell me. But all that being said, we'll use the existing well. The house area will be towards the front, and the septic area as well. And I can kind of
just for everyone's reference, I believe this is the area where the existing
yes.
The well is. Okay,
yeah.
So there'll just be a line that will go down to where the house is now.
Right, and we show that on the second sheet.
Lot 3.
Yes.
Going through here. This is the 3rd lot. This is, I believe, 1. This is 2.
Just yeah.
Or am I the opposite?
The big one is lot 1.
Lot 1, lot 2, sorry, and then lot 3. So thank you for cleaning up the paperwork. Let's go to consultants first. Mrs. Sotero, any comments?
Yeah, I'm it tonight, I think.
You are?
For consultants. Yeah, well, we just got a new map today. We had only had a couple very small comments about adding a note about if there's ever going to be a change in the future on the driveways, they'd have to come back to the planning board because we had a concern on the one there. And then just to try to go clean up the map to clarify the lot lines, because there's a lot of stuff going on the map with the stone walls, et cetera, et cetera. So talking to Ernie in the hall, he had said that he made those changes. I just didn't get a chance to look at it. I'm sure it's fine. If there's something that we need before we do conditional, then I'll let his office know. But our office just had a few minor comments.
Great.
Before.
So for everyone else's benefit, the original driveway is around here. With the new house, there'll be a foreshortened little swing off, and the driveway, the common drive, remains much the same for the 2 locations. In addition, in the new plan that was submitted today, there was permanently preserved open space in the Central Hudson easement, which you can't do because they have the right to clear cut that whenever they want to. So that was removed as well. And I believe what Mr. Martin was saying was that a lot of the open space follows the borders of some existing stone walls and stone areas, so that there's a more clear delineation for anyone who happens to be walking the site. Of note, originally in the open space that was originally approved, and it's back here now, there is an existing old kind of drive that was originally proposed to be a driveway for the house. That is no longer being proposed. Again, it's just a single 3-way common driveway, but the one will be much shorter than what it used to be. And this is permanent open space. Also to clarify, the applicant's attorney confirmed that they could not find any of the restrictive covenants for the open space areas. It could be that we don't think they were ever filed, but also he may have copies, but they're archived in off-site storage areas. So as a condition, we'll be looking to make sure that we have new language that Victoria or George, whichever attorney is serving for us at that time, will be reviewing. Let me start to my left. Any comments from Ms. Weiser?
None
Mr.
from me.
Murphy?
Thank
No.
you.
Mr. Pickett?
I think they've made all the changes that we requested, including those of the public comments that we've had in the past, so I think we're good to go.
Thank you. Ms. Dexter?
I would agree with that. I'm happy to hear you're using that existing well, and just, it makes a lot more sense with all the way the lot lines are now aligned with the stone walls. It'll be beautiful.
Okay.
Mr. Oliver?
No comment.
Ms. DiNapoli?
I'm glad to see that we're finally nearing the end, and I'm sure no more than you are. Thank you.
I noticed that some neighbors are here tonight. Would anyone like to speak about the application? Whoa, okay.
We're happy.
Then at this point, I think that we can close the public hearing and consider taking action at the next meeting, assuming that that sounds okay to you, Mr. Sotero. You
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to really review it, but
Yeah,
I
we
looked,
should be able to.
yeah, I looked pretty closely.
Yeah, and Victoria has a few things, I think, with some legal documents, but again, I don't think it's anything
This will all be
major. They can be,
conditions.
conditions.
And as I said, there's a note, I think it's note 12 on the cover sheet that refers to needing site plan approval, which would not be the case unless you propose two-family, which is allowed in this district, but requires site plan, but otherwise it would just be subdivision approval. I think you can just change that to approval by the planning board. Just leave it
Okay.
generic like that.
I think that was a note that was a residual from the previous.
It could be, it could be. Anything else? Then make it a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll put this on the agenda for November the 15th. Yep. And consider taking action. If we have any questions, one of us will get over back to you in the meantime.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out.
Thank
See you in
you.
2 weeks. The next item on the agenda is a new public hearing for what is being titled Bellefield Inn. This is going to be a sort of a Marriott Residence Inn, maybe with a different title. They'll be using the reservation system. The site is located directly opposite the Culinary Institute. And just for the record today, members of the board and the applicant's team had a chance to walk the site. For the one member who did not make the visit, it was interesting and fun, but I think actually it'll be better to go back because the corners of the buildings will be staked out. You'll have the center lines of the road staked out, and you'll have the location of the sewage treatment plant proposed as well. But in the meantime, let me turn it over to the applicants. Lady and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. My name is Larry Boudreau of the Chazen Companies. I'm going to go through the PowerPoint that we have prepared for the project, kind of a general scope so the public can see that. But first I wanted to thank the board on all their help because I went through all the submittals that I had in our directory, and I think I have about 20. And that includes progress sets that we pitched to you. You reviewed it, looked at it, really helped us through this process. Planning board submittals, very responsive, and we turned it around as quick as we could. So it's not like we're just having a public hearing. We really worked hard to get to this point, both sides, and we want to thank you for your leadership and support on that.
I'm blushing, but thank you as well. And I'd like to point out that this is how the process works at its best, is when we have early meetings like this to kind of give you general ideas. And we waited to hold a public hearing until we have a really kind of firm idea of where we're going with the project now. I know that there is a late change owing to the problems, or I shouldn't say problems, with Department of Health issues in your septic. But I think from our perspective today from the walk, it looks like it's going to be a better project by going ahead and having the central sewer system designed and implemented now. It's going to make the rest of the developments go much more easily. And as I sent, I believe, an email to Ms. Van Tile, and I think most of you, just saying that we're going to do a courtesy recirculation tonight, not for lead agency, we've already declared, just to make certain that they're aware of the magnitude of the change, because it's not anything huge in terms of the general public's perception of what they're going to see. But it is somewhat bigger in terms of what now hoops you have to go through with DEC to get your speedies permit, et cetera, because it's a much bigger system now that's being designed, so.
Yes, and we do agree. We're happy with the direction, and we're moving as fast as we can to make that happen.
And as long as I'm being Chippendale, I also wanted to say one more time, thank you again to the Shaner Group, because you've been incredibly responsive on architecture, and I kind of want to share something with you. Stina Cutson had called. They often review projects for us, and they normally don't comment on architecture, but he was going to with the first set, and then we digitally emailed him the newest plan. He was like, "Oh, good, no comments." So, this is a positive feature. So, Mr. Boudreaux, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So I want to introduce who's here to my right is with BELLEFIELD, Tom Mulroy, Joe Gaudio, and Mike Oates. To my left is Jennifer Van Tile, the counsel for the project. To her left is Bill Hoy with Shaner, and then Chris Laporta with Chazen. So we're going to flip through this. Make sure this is working. All right, go ahead, Chris. So this is, again, just to bring everybody who hasn't seen this presentation, this is the project site, over 300 acres. This is the current existing conditions plan. This is State Route 9 here. The culinary is right here on the bottom of the page. Their main access with the traffic light is right here. St. Andrews is right here. West Dorsey is right here. What this plan also shows are the current map DEC wetlands with their buffer up in this area here. Corps engineers wetlands, you know, throughout here, here, and there. Right, go ahead. This is an aerial shot. So again, West Dorsey right here. St. Andrews is up here. This is the old Stop and Shop right there. Route 9, of course, the culinary and our project site is here. Specifically, the hotel is located in the southwestern part of the site. This is the approved concept plan from '07, and again, our project will be going in this area here. In addition to that, there's wastewater treatment plant, which will be moved from, I'm sorry, Chris, which will be moved from here to approximately this area. Go ahead. And this shows the planning. They're broken up in zones and blocks, and we're in Zone 3, Block G for the hotel, and the wastewater treatment plant would be going there. All right. And this shows the site plan superimposed over the entire site, so you can see context. Again, Route 9 here, West Dorsey, St. Andrews, hotel here. This access lines up with the culinary across the street. We're currently under our review with DOT. We're making the next submission to them tomorrow for this access and that access there. This is, again, so here's the main access here. This is all coordinated with DOT and the finding statements on how this is all, the geometry is all worked out. Working with the planning board, we have sidewalks on both sides of this drive, crossing on both the south and the north side of the intersection, and then this will lead us up to the portico, or the portico shed drop-off for the hotel, which is here. And this face, the access is in a north-south alignment parallel to Route 9, and it's a 5-story hotel. These are stormwater practices here. This is a loop around the hotel, and this is emergency access out to West Dorsey. And this just shows again the level of work that we have really been working on with Pete's office and the planners, and we're just about there. And the landscape plan, In our site walk today, we specifically looked at this area here, making a trail connection from here up into the hotel sidewalk area. And then this landscaping here, which is fairly thin, we'll look to add some plantings through here and a little bit over here, because this is fairly light in existing vegetation. One of the things we had to work through were the lightings, and these are fixtures that we chose. These are fixtures that will be located on the back side of the parking. It's a 5-story building. These things are 20 feet. They'll be tucked in behind the building, and these more ornamental are 12 feet, and they'll be coming in off the road up to the hotel. And we met all the foot candle requirements and heat densities that we worked through.
Just a reminder that you'll be submitting some quick narrative as to why you want us to relax the standard for the height of the lighting fixtures. Thank you.
This is the location of the wastewater treatment plant. It comes off of our northern drive, and all this ties into that concept master plan, which we refer to all the time. This is right in the same spot, and this will come over here. We walked the site this afternoon. That big sycamore is right there, and these other two are right there. And this works beautifully behind a natural berm, fully vegetated, existing vegetation. Okay. You can flip through that. That's the light fixture we selected. They're in the back. We had to work with the trail plan and work with the planning board on ensuring that we tied to all the planned future trails, and then as this develops, we'll grow with the tied to those trails. Okay. And this is just some of the detailed stuff. So we were talking about this access today from here up to here. Whether it comes in here and sweeps around up and in, we'll get that worked out. And then again, we have sidewalks here going through. We have a pedestrian connection from the culinary all the way up to the entrance of the hotel.
If I could just for a moment, for the benefit of the audience who's here, this has been changed. This is an emergency access road. It's not really meant for full use, but more importantly, this is an older plan that you're seeing for the moment. This would make it appear as though the road is going to be part of the parking area. In fact, this has been redesigned to come up here, and a roadway would exist a little bit over there instead.
Okay. And now I'm going to hand it off to Bill.
Good evening. Thank you. Again, I'd like to echo Larry's comments, and thank you, Michael, for the great endorsement. And that's always great, and it's been a pleasure working with everybody here on the board. And we really worked hard to get to, I think, a design that is going to be very community-orientated, ties into the whole Hyde Park architecture as well as the CIA. Reflects that a little bit. And again, I want to thank everybody's comments. And at the Shaner Corporation, we're very pleased with this design also. Thank you.
Thanks.
So just for statistics a little bit, this is a 5-story hotel, 133 rooms. We call it an extended stay product where we have patrons, guests, staying typically 2 to 3 nights is what we like to see. And so they're a studio concept where it has a full kitchen and a studio area, sitting area, and a bedroom, all either in a studio or a 1-bedroom design. It's based off of Marriott's Residence Inn on the prototype. We have got a project here that Marriott recognizes a very special area, so they're not holding us strictly to the standards, the standard design. From the exterior as well as the interior, but what makes sense for the community in Hyde Park, which we're very pleased. project has 133 rooms, as I mentioned, 96,300 square feet total with an indoor pool. Has 3,400 square feet of meeting space, and it's all divided up. Some boardrooms, some small meeting areas. Hopefully, it'll be used for the community with the meeting space. So the elevation you're looking at is the east elevation. So when guests arrive, they go into the porte cochere, which is in the center of the building. And the west elevation is the one that majority of the community will see on the Route 9 side. And as you will notice, we took into a lot of the great suggestions. I think this back porch area is a major hit with everybody. It accommodates the private rooms as well as public. So we have public that can sit out in the middle of this hole too, and can act also as a pickup point for people to come through. As you see on the elevations, we really try to incorporate more of the FDR stone, the red brick from across the street, and some subtle details such as the coins and the dentals up on top to match in. The scale is trying to work to a point where it breaks the mass of the building down. I think maybe the elevations or the renderings might help out to see for the public that it's just not a straight facade. It goes in undulations and outs. Again, the front side where the patrons, the guests will pull up underneath the porte cochere into the main entrance. And then the west side facing Route 9 with the stone and the brick, and how it masses down a little bit from the scale by utilizing the stone and some of the tower areas. And again, another view from the front as patrons pull up. And on the right side is where the meeting areas are at one story. And the back side, or the west side, I call it more like the street front side, which people will see. I think it's going to work in very well. And as you walk today, I think you get a better sense of the height from Route 9 to where this is at. We're really looking forward to the upper rooms with the views of the Hudson River and the upper northern Catskills. It's going to be gorgeous. Try to take advantage of that. And it's going to be, I'm sure, an amenity to the community. And on the right side would be the south, would be the indoor pool and area, patios areas. As the plan shows, the meeting room is on the right side, or the north end of the building, and then the pool is on the south side, with a central entrance area, a large open area. We're looking at bringing in some concepts that from food would make a lot of sense. The Residence Inn offers a free breakfast buffet, and then also a evening reception by the GM. Some of the thoughts that we were talking about right up front, that we break all this apart and really take advantage of where we are, and maybe in the morning have display cooking for not just the waffles, but more of a presentation. And then in the evening, the possibility to have display cooking and do entrees or small little reception, GM reception food, and take advantage of maybe some students might want to come up and help us out, employ some students. We're working through some of these details right now and looking at some of the branding. We have a branding meeting coming up in the 2 weeks to talk about these ideas and how we'd like to approach and take advantage of where we are. So.
I'll just point out real quickly for members of the public, because we already know this, there won't be a restaurant per se. This isn't open to the public.
Correct.
The applicants are looking to create or construct a second hotel in a nearby vicinity at some point in the future. There'll be more of a boutique hotel, and that would likely have a restaurant or a restaurant attached to it, River Market, something like that. And just so you know, Mr. Hoy, the CIA has student clubs that they have different themes around, and you might want to talk to the
Absolutely.
students about the clubs, because you could have different, they have an
Great.
Argentinian food club,
Yeah.
they have, you name it, they've got it over there.
A lot of potential, a lot of great potential.
great idea.
I think that would really bring in a lot of, the guests would love it, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
This is a typical floor plan. We have 4 floors essentially like this with all guest rooms. And again, the top floors, the views to the top of the page would be facing the Hudson River. And then as you can see, the northern views, even when you get a little higher on the north side, we'll have some beautiful views also. Again, a variety of different shapes of the rooms to match into the architecture, but you can see a lot of the what this looks like. Every room again has a entry area with a kitchen, sitting area, and either a double or a king size bed and a full bath. So.
Questions? Any questions for Mr. Hoy?
No?
I didn't think so. It seems anticlimactic, but we've been working on this for so much, and I think you satisfied, in terms of the architecture and the layout and the design, the landscaping, the lighting, everything that the board's asked for that's in the code to be required. So let me start with our one consultant. Mr. Sotero, any comments?
Largest consultant we have.
Yeah, we got a submission last week. We didn't have much of an opportunity to look at, the plan set itself, but again, we've been working closely with Chazen's office, and, we'll work through any small things that we have there. They have to work with all the outside agencies, the health departments, the Department of Transportation, and those will be, the longer approvals. We did look at the EAF. We issued a memo, today with some, minor comments in it. The EAF was primarily revised because, I believe, just because of the relocation of the wastewater, treatment plant. One of the questions that we had was whether any of your previous, reports, threatened endangered species, archaeological, whether those, had covered, the area that's now going to be the the wastewater plant. So I don't know if they do or not.
Yeah,
They did? Okay, so you just have to go clarify that and stuff like that. So, minor things, and I know we're going to talk about a resolution tonight to, to circulate the revised form to the involved agencies. But, other than that, we'll work through some of the engineering items. I don't foresee anything to be an issue.
I don't either at this point. I should point out as well that today on the site visit, there is an older 2-story structure that we could see in the distance. It's not part of this application, and by that I mean it's not within the area of disturbance that's proposed. But Mr. Mulroy was discussing maybe trying to keep it there, reutilize it, et cetera. And I just wanted to point out that in a response to a prior memo, Chazen had pointed out that the structure could have been built between 1880 and 1920. It's not listed on the National or State Registry of Historic Places. So it's just up to you if you want to use it. You can refine that as you go. Yeah, you can refine that as you go further. We did have the town historian send us some information on that as well. The design, as I said today, is not usual for water towers of that time period over here. It's actually a California style. Go figure. Just to throw some fun stuff in through there for us. So, also, we still have not received a response from the fire department. I'll make sure that we contact them, but I do want to point out that I got a verbal okay from the fire chief. So that they were copacetic with everything, and as long as I'm bringing that up, I'd just like to point out that we had a hotel, the approval has lapsed, but on the CIA property across the highway, and that was also a 5-story hotel. One of the things we learned there is that even though the fire department does not have a ladder truck that will go up to the 5th floor to actually shoot, there are other ways to mitigate fire or fire safety. Those include sprinklering an attic, adding on additional wells, or I should say stairwells, for people to climb up and down. And I know that those are all being incorporated in this, so that's why they seem to be okay. But we will get a formal response from them at some point.
Okay.
And we're still waiting, I think, on DEC responses, and that may be delayed because of the change here. I'm not sure. We had the email you forwarded to us.
Yeah,
You seem to be okay. I should put that in the record.
Yeah, I'm fine, but we, SHPO, we had comments with them that we need to get them back out. We submitted to DOH today requesting a flow confirmation letter. Once we get that back, we'll send that into DEC for a speedies permit. They'll get it back to us, tell us the level of quality we need to treat to on the wastewater treatment plant. We're already assuming it's going to be the highest, so we're moving forward with the design. So,
Okay.
Because Tom and these guys, they want it done. So.
We'd all like to see it done, too. Again, for the record, I wanted to make sure that people in the audience or television audience, either one, understand that since it's illegal to tell you how we're going to vote, assuming they get the approvals, once they're through this board, there's actually going to be considerable time to go through the other agencies. DEC, it may take you a while to get through for your speedies permit. This would be a permit that handles for septic disposal. I think you at one point estimated maybe a year. I'm hoping not that long, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're hopeful.
Good. Good. If there's anything we can do to hasten that along, let me know. Let me start to my right for comments from the board. Ms. DiNapoli?
I think I am very pleased with the latest rendition that you submitted. I agree. I think we've come a long way in a very short period of time. And I look forward to it. On today's walk, all I kept saying to Larry when we started was, show me where I'm putting my rocking chair. And he did.
Great.
So I'm very happy with that. A couple of things about doing the site walk that kind of surprised me. When you look on the paper and you're trying to figure like 150-foot setback, and then you go and you stand there, you go, oh, it's not as far back as I thought. And so one of the concerns was the noise from the road. I don't know what your plan, I don't remember, I should say, the plans for mitigating some of the noise, like with windows or insulate.
Yeah, the windows will be a product where they'll be non-operable. And typically when we have highway like this, we try to go that direction. And there'll be an inch insulated glass in there, so that'll really be tight.
Okay. And I was also surprised at looking on the other side of the distance of how much further, in reality, the entrance is onto the property from where the hotel was. Because when you look at it on paper, you go, oh, it's not that far. But maybe because we were walking it today, it was like, it's which is nice. It allows you to meander to get to the hotel. So that was very appreciative to see. And I look forward to just moving this right along. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver?
Again, I'd like to thank the applicant, and I mean, it's been a pleasure to work with you guys so far, and how speedy you've turned everything around. It's been great, and taking our comments is much appreciated. I think that this is going to be a staple project for Hyde Park, and it's going to bring great things to our community, and really looking forward to it. And I think that site walk today really helped with figuring out where the new sewage plant's going to be. And I agree. I think it's a much better option for the site.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Dexter?
I'll echo my colleagues' thoughts as far as, the process and how well it's gone. I'm sorry I was not able to make the site walk today, but I understand that I will have another opportunity to check it out, and that there will be steaks, and I can bring my own rocking chair and try it out. My question, I think, it just kind of really hit me that with the relocation of the septic to the north, is there any additional opportunities for extra landscaping now between the hotel and the road? Because there was going to be that little mini barn, I think. Are there any, if there are any other opportunities to increase?
Yeah, we talked about that today on the site walk, and I told the board that I'm going to give it, a first shot here and get it back to you, and I'll do it the same way. I'll get it done and send it to you and get your input.
Okay.
We're going to try to get, introduce more evergreen trees, help soften it up.
Okay, because I think that'll go
Yeah.
a long way to buffering the road noise.
It was surprising to see that there's not much there. All the stuff that's there is gone. That
Yeah.
We're going to take down.
Yep.
It's invasive, highly invasive plant material.
It's just one big vine fest
Yeah.
over there. Yeah.
We're going to clean it up.
Okay. And so I would just ask that when the site is marked and when, tell me what the rules are as far as being able to walk it.
Okay. It'll be marked tomorrow.
I should note that this is not an invitation to the general public to walk the site. This is only for the planning board who have permission from the site owners, just to remind everybody. And I'm not sure that you would know what you're looking for anyway in terms of the stakes. Mr. Pickett, comments?
Yes, the past work we've had with regards to the site plan, regards to presentations, information presented, reviews, changes, and everything, I think been excellent. You've been very, very responsive. So we had a good site walk today, and I think you seem very knowledgeable about the area and the plans, and I think you answered every question I heard asked. So
Agreed.
I think we're really good to go.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
Just what everybody said. I'm impressed with the speed with which this is coming along, and I'm very much in favor of that. The quicker and the less red tape we can get through, the happier it makes me. Today's site walk was kind of informative because that probably was a pasture, but a long, long, long time ago. And I think the hotel's going to make that site beautiful, and it's not too lovely right now.
Yes, there is a lot of automotive debris here and there as well.
So I'm all for it.
Not the tractor, Tom.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, I noticed the tractor is not going to be now by the hotel anymore, right? When I saw the plan, the pad is now staying where it is?
He's already the main entrance of the tractor.
Mm-hmm.
We have no plans on moving that right now.
Okay.
Depends if we put the covered bridge there or not.
I spoke to Ms. Moss, and I just want to remind you, a covered bridge would be a structure, the way our code is written, would need a variance if it's in the 150 feet. Just saying, because I know Ms. Van Tuyl keeps rewriting what variances you're going to need, because you need less now that you're not having the sewage treatment plant where it was proposed, et cetera. So, yeah. Ms. Weiser, any comments?
I echo my colleagues' sentiments, and I thank you for the thorough, informative site walk today. And it was really wonderful to get a sense of how the buildings were going to work within the site itself. It felt like it was coming to life, and thank you so much.
Yes. So then, if you guys don't mind, we're going to need to have some seats because we have a number of people who signed in for the public hearing. And may I get a motion to open the public hearing on the site plan only?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That note was because we will be holding a separate public hearing on the subdivision once we conclude seeker. I'm just going to go through the names that were called, that were written to come up and speak. And it doesn't matter if you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to speak once these people are done. The first would be, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Don Minicino, or Minicino? Well,
Chris, can you move the...
it depends on if you're using the
Microphone.
Italian pronunciation or the American Italian pronunciation there.
I'll stay here in case anyone wants to see a
Great.
particular slide.
You might be the first person to get my last name right on the first try.
Wow.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Don Minicino. I'll state my address just for the record, 110 Mill Street, Poughkeepsie, New York. But also for the record, I'm the Director of Business Attraction for Think Dutchess Alliance for Business, the county's official economic development agency. So I just want to say a few things about this project real quick. We're very excited on a county level to see a hotel of this caliber and of this economic impact, being considered here in Hyde Park and here in the county. It's not that often that a project like this comes by that will help us to capture a lot of the dollars that do unfortunately leave the area because we don't have a hotel of this caliber, here in Dutchess County. This is going to help convert day trips into stay trips. There's a huge economic impact over 10 years. It's estimated at around $634 million. Just in the first year alone, it's estimated to attract about 60,000 visitors at a spend of a little bit more than $4 million, and that's just in the first year alone. Additionally, it's going to help us attract conferences, other large events that we currently lose to, to counties outside of the region as well. So the economic impact of a project like this is very great, and we lend our support behind it 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minikino. The next person to speak would be Brian Gates.
Hi, good evening, Board. My name is Brian Gates. I'm Senior Vice President for Hudson Valley Economic Development, and I'm very happy to be here tonight to talk on behalf of this great project. I have a letter I'll submit, but let me briefly paraphrase because my colleague went over some of the numbers already. As this hotel vision becomes a reality, today the Hudson Valley is an economic leader in New York State with millions of tourists pouring into the region, many of whom are visiting Dutchess County and enjoying all the area has to offer. This is why this hotel project proposed at BELLEFIELD at Hyde Park property represents an excellent opportunity for Dutchess County and its local businesses, as well as the county's many institutions of higher learning, to have an outstanding facility in the local area that will better complement and support the growing hotel and event-based needs for the influx of visitors as well as the residents. So given the fact that the projected 10-year combined operation and visitor spending is $634 million, going to generate over $4 million to Dutchess County in the first year alone, and many other economic benefits to the local area, HVEDC strongly supports this important economic development project. Thank you, and it really looks like a wonderful project. We look forward to working with the town. Thanks.
Thank you. You'll have, I hope, ample opportunity in the future because this is just the first sub-phase of a very large project.
Great, super. Thank you.
The next person who signed up would be Ms. Sharon Pereno-Bucco. Welcome back.
I would like to request to be moved to the bottom because my comments are geared toward the plan.
Certainly.
As part of the public input, not the economic growth or development.
That's fine. You're welcome to speak anytime. The next person would be Carol Jessen. Carol? Defer? The next Mary Kay Verba, head of Dutchess County Tourism.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come. We're very excited on the tourism level to have this property here in Hyde Park because it really fills a gap that has been lacking because one of our challenges is that most of our hotel rooms are down in the southern part of the county, but most of our major attractors are in the Hyde Park area and north, and so we have this kind of disconnect. So this is very good for our visitors who will be coming in. We have over 4.7 million visitors that have come to this county. They have spent over $468 million. We employ over 10,000 people, so this hotel will totally add to that economic impact. Particularly, we have some great opportunities now with Stewart Airport developing for the international market and us being so close to New York City. This will be a great gateway to northern Dutchess as well. And within a 5-hour drive, we have 44 million people to attract here, so we need more hotel rooms for them to stay. Because we all know that when they stay overnight, they spend more money. And particularly for the group tour market. So if we can have our motor coaches stay in the area every time they stay overnight, they add about $15,000 to the economy on a one-night stay. So we think this property will really add to the lack of the availability that we have right now. That will attract more visitors here. They'll stay longer, which will be a win-win situation for all of us here in the county. Thank you for your hard work that you're doing on this project, and we hope that it will move forward, and anything we can do to help it with DEC, et cetera, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll add that 3 of us, the longest serving 3 up here, have been up here more than 12 years. And in the initial SEQRA review that was done on the project, on the entire project, we heard data, and this is 12-year-old data or 11-year-old data, but that if a person spends the night, they wind up spending anywhere from 145 to 175 directly in your community because of spending the night there. So we know what advantages it will bring to Hyde Park. Also, in addition, everyone should know that there is a 485B exemption, so that the full taxable value of the hotel will take about 10 years from start to finish before you'll be feeling all the full tax effects in the community. But in the meantime, as you said, you're going to have ancillary benefits from having people come and spend money each day. The next person who signed up is Josh Summers. Hello, good to see you again.
How's everyone? Hi, Josh Summers. I didn't bring my passport, but from Orange County. But the context of why I'm here today is I've worked with Mike Oates, who's the managing partner of this project, for more than 10 years, and I've gotten to know Tom Mulroy over the last year. I am not currently a consultant on the project, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about the regional significance of this. Of course, the governor's office has marked this as a project that's a priority project, and my day job is president and CEO of Focus Media. We're one of the largest marketing and PR firms in the state outside Manhattan, and a lot of what we do is tourism and economic based. And first off, what I see this board doing in the pre-research and all the things that you're doing before you get to this stage, I don't often see when I work on economic development projects and ushering through approvals. So that's really great to see, and I'm sure your due diligence will make this the best project it can be. But if you look at what's happening in the region, Dutchess County is very hot. I won't give you a lecture on that with Mary Kay Verba in the room. but certainly, if you look what's happening regionally with a $500 million theme park and resort coming on board, Legoland New York, which I was the lobbyist and PR firm on, the new casino that is going to be opening this first quarter, Woodbury Common with 13 million visitors, and Hyde Park just being this really beautiful jewel of all these destinations that are, most of which are walkable. This extended stay hotel is really going to make a significant difference in you capturing this new market share. So I think it's really a great opportunity for Hyde Park and Dutchess County, I think for the region. I think once again, the pre-work that you're doing will make this a great project, and it's, I appreciate the chance without the passport to come say a few words. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Summers, and it doesn't require, anyone can speak at a public hearing, I just want to point that out, who has an interest in this. And we don't set time limits either, no passports required here. That's the limit of people who signed up. Would you like to speak now, Ms. Moreno-Bucco, or do you want me to let the audience come and speak up? Come on up, just do it one at a time and state your name for the record.
Good evening, members of the Planning Board. Thank you. My name is Jeff Brackett. I'm Executive Vice President of Marist College. In that role, I function as COO and oversee many of the projects, including all of the construction projects that we've undergone over the last 7 years while I've been there. I wanted to just add to the chorus of support for this project. Marist alone has over 65,000 visits to campus every year. And what we have found in our operations that we are at a deficit, severe deficit for hotel rooms in the region. And I can tell you everything from visits of families coming to look at higher education, not only Marist, but others in the region would benefit greatly from this. In addition, our own alumni population and our development office has found that our alumni who want to return to the region for their alumni weekends often restrict themselves because they realize they don't want to stay in a hotel several miles away, even in the beautiful county of Orange, for example. Another factor at the college that would be well served for this type of population, we have 23 Division I teams, which alone generate over 850 room nights per year with visiting teams. Currently, many of them have to stay in Danbury because there are no facilities that are available. And so there's an economic impact not only for those who are looking to return to this beautiful region as alumni, but also as prospective students and active students. So we wholeheartedly support this project and are very pleased to be doing whatever we can in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. It's good to see you again. And Mr. Hoy, you're absorbing all this because there's really a need for that other hotel. You're hearing it right now. Next person who'd like to speak? Kate?
Hi, I'm Kate Hinschafer. live locally in Hyde Park, 7 Maple Lane, and I have to say, I don't think I've seen this many suits here in a really long time, and it's nice that they're all encouraged by your hard work that started the whole thing, and that the developers are following your your suggestions, and this thing has turned out very beautiful, visually attractive, which is something that's you guys kind of have to fight sometimes tooth and nail to get other developers to understand how important visual attraction is to a development. So yay to you guys, and yay to the people that, and also not to mention the money that is coming into, the area, but the job opportunities that this will, this continued phasing of this development will allow for our local people. I think it's fantastic. So yay.
Thank you, Kate. I do want to point out that at the very beginning, I mentioned to the applicants that architecture would be the biggest hurdle, and I wanted to get over it as fast as possible. And that's why we keep complimenting Mr. Hoy, because they took every comment we made pretty seriously. And what you see up here actually is somewhat similar, but very different in other ways from what was originally proposed. Mr. Oliver and Ms. Weiser get full credit for really doing some refinements that were very specific. They came up with a design that you see right now. It's less busy. When I was at the site walk today, I noticed that dental, like you see, if you see it in detail, up here is actually on Roth Hall at the CIA, but it is not on the Marriott. And when I looked at them combined, I thought, it's missing it, but we've got it. And what's really nice is to borrow again from Ms. Weiser's comments, since this is now creating more or less a new gateway into Hyde Park, it's going to be nice to have two pillars that will anchor you as you drive up, both Roth Hall at the Culinary Institute and the Marriott Pavilion, plus this one. I think it's going to be a very elegant entrance. And the last thing before I keep taking public comment to note is Hyde Park actually is in the center of the Hudson Valley Great Estates. If you take a look at the distance between Hyde Park and Lyndhurst down to the south and Hyde Park to Olana up to the north, we really are in the center. We're hoping this hotel will actually be more than just a stay spot for 3 days, that people could stay here for 4 or 5, take advantage of seeing all the historic sites and still keep coming back to one location where they would spend the night and spend their money, as we keep saying. The next person who'd like to come up, Mr. Dinsmore, come on up.
Folks. My name's Steve Densmore. I'm the president of Choice Words. We do grant writing and public relations, and I must confess I'm another carpetbagger from Orange County, but I go back with these folks some years when they were first attempting to get an ESD grant for the project. I've worked with Mike and Tom for the last 3 years, and I've got to just pass along how professional and I think you've realized and seen firsthand how professional they are at all levels. In terms of development teams, they're top notch, and they deliver on their promises, which is probably reassuring for a change. But from my perspective, I kind of do a lot of work throughout several counties in the Hudson Valley, and we're called upon to ask the state to support good economic development initiatives, and honestly, over the last several years, I haven't seen many that are on par with this one. I think that's reflected in the fact that the Regional Council has twice named it a priority project, which really means that it goes beyond a county interest project. It's a project that the whole region wants to see happen. In particular, it lines up with the regional desire to support tourism, but also to create a destination hotel, and other people have talked about that. The need in this region for nice stay over, extended stay hotels is critical, especially to support a tourism community like yours. I mean, you've got a community here that draws millions of people, but they come and they go. And I think you recognize the need to keep them here, going to your restaurants, spending their money, visiting your sites. And I think this project does that. And its full build out will do that even more. It'll be a place to be proud of. It'll be a community unto itself. And then I want to leave you with one other perspective, which goes way back, more than I care to admit. Back when I was 25 or so years ago, when I was an editor with Taconic Press, and the townsmen covered, the Hyde Park townsmen, some of you know, covered a bold plan for across the street from the CIA, right?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? Ferdinand Metz, I think it was.
It was.
Then 15 years ago, another bold plan. I guess the point is that finally you've got a bold plan that's going to happen, and I think it should be embraced, as I think you are doing. So,
Thank you, Mr. Dinsmore. It's good to see you. Anyone else? Ms. Waldstein-Hart?
Well, good evening. I get to wear two hats here. One hat is sat here, 12 years ago? More than that, when I was chairman of the Hyde Park Corridor Committee. At that time, we did some planning studies, and we looked at some of the issues that Hyde Park is still dealing with. And we became very excited about a couple of things that we all know needed to happen. And that was infill of our commercial district. That was a sewer treatment plant that would allow for commercial development. And it was also a hotel that could accommodate a bus and a tour groups. We did all the same numbers about how much benefit we would get if people stayed overnight. And we looked at all the wonderful things we had in Hyde Park. We actually had something called Walk Hyde Park, and we wore yellow t-shirts and walked down the street. Maybe Diane remembers that. And we started the whole initiative to connect trails. So it's really wonderful for me personally to be back here many years later after the iterations that you've all talked about, to see a great plan that's ready to be put into action, promoted by professional folks that know what they're doing and have spent the time doing it, and to see a really well-developed professional planning board that makes Hyde Park proud. So thank you for that. And we're all excited to see what happens. Then I get to jump over and wear another hat as executive director of the Walkway Over the Hudson. And of course, we're big tourist cheerleaders. We have about 500,000 people coming every year to the walkway. We've got Mary Kay traveling around the world, and we've got HVEDC trying to attract people here. They don't stay at the walkway forever, and we don't care. They have about a 2-hour visit. But we love to see them to stay in the area. And if there isn't a first-class hotel that encourages people to stay, the folks are coming in for Parents Weekend for Marist, the culinary students that are graduating every, 4 months, they go to Kingston, or they go down to Fishkill or someplace else where they stay. So in the near term, this hotel will bring that development and bring that benefit to us. And then, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we are, of course, hoping that the other parts of the plan progress, and the sewage treatment, some of the residents, and some of the other commercial will just continue to bring benefits. So and as part of the walkway, we really support this plan. We really think it's going to be yet another great asset in the Hudson Valley. So thank you for your hard work, and good luck with the proceedings as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to point out that there's still plans for our trail system to connect all the way to the walkway, and it'd be really nice if we could get people staying at the hotel to be able to go down to the walkway and back. It's a wonderful walk. Part of it would be along the river. It'd be, I think, a very exciting and nice thing for guests to be able to do and keep them here a little bit longer. Would anyone else like to speak about this application from the public? There you go. As a reminder, Ms. Prinobuco served on this board for 7 years and was vice chair for much of that time.
And another reminder, I'm also known as the rock lady in the town of Hyde Park before I became the vegetable lady in the village of Hyde Park. And there's probably no one in this room other than Pete and myself that have sat here and discussed this property, as well as a lot of development on the properties here in Hyde Park. The comments I have are positive in nature because of the hotel and what that will bring, but the comments that I have are directly related to the EAF and the site plan itself. And because of the venue and the people that turned out tonight, I don't know if I feel that this is the right time to talk about that. They're very plan-oriented, down to the details.
We're probably going to adjourn the public hearing to a later date. Rather,
Okay.
The applicants are coming pretty much every 2 weeks. That's how we've got to this point.
Yes.
You've been here.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely because they've got a lot of other coordination to do with other agencies, et cetera, that we'll keep holding the public hearing open every 2 weeks. So
Okay.
you're welcome to submit them in writing anytime, as you know, or you can go ahead and spill your guts tonight.
No, I do plan on submitting them in writing, so I want to cover a couple things as you move forward, so you don't get so far ahead that when the comments do come,
Yeah,
it's
the
too
earlier
late.
the better, I think.
Right.
Okay, and Annie is from this area. She knows that property. I'm intimate with that property. For everybody's information, I grew up on Moody Drive when it was a private road and a dirt road before the town adopted it.
That's right.
This is my stomping ground. I know this property, so you're going to have to really prove a lot to me to show me how you're going to see the Hudson River, but that's just a side comment. Okay, so in your, I know we have the software available. I don't know what it is, but I would love to see on these plans, there was a very nice pictorial of the land itself, but I'd like to see the proposed building imposed on that. And I do want to apologize that I have not been into the planning board office to scrutinize elevations, the site. I know what 150 feet looks like, and it's a very small distance. Just as a comment.
There is a site analysis, a site analysis, so you would have a chance to see what the building looks like if you are facing north along Route 9
Okay.
through the sections, and it will show you. You might be able to see the Hudson from the 5th floor if you look at a
No, I
certain
don't think
angle.
so, and I'll tell you why. I do challenge
They
that.
did a thing with a drone, and they did show, they went, they
Right.
took the drone up to the level of the 5th floor.
Right.
And you could see over the property. of
berm
culinary.
and the
basic-
buildings
it's-
as a
And you
culinary.
could see a bit of the
Okay.
river,
Right,
yeah.
it's facing north, not facing directly west across the way, but facing north. You will have views of the river.
Okay. That would be in between the housing then, I assume.
Over
at
housing,
the
yes.
culinary. Anyway, my comments is that it is a 338-acre parcel, and I don't understand why we have such a mammoth structure. Those are the words I heard in the conversations here. 5 stories is enormous, and what I'd like for us to consider is the long-term effects of something on an elevated parcel. For example, is the rock outcroppings going to be blasted so that this building is closer to the roadway level, or are we talking about looking at the Empire State Building as we go north on Route 9? And a clear example of what the Marriott residence is that most people are not aware of is that there is a Marriott residence in front of the IBM plant on the South Road in Poughkeepsie. I take that road to go down to the river to the IBM plant. That's not where the clock tower is. These are the most northernmost buildings of the IBM site. And that is a 3-story Marriott that is overwhelming as you come up the hill to exit to go home or to approach Route 9. So if you would like to add a couple of stories to that and put it on the elevations of West Dorsey Lane, I find that very intimidating. So I also, these are just comments that I would like the board and Pete, some of them will be directed toward the engineering part. And I'm very specific because I've looked at plans, so I apologize for taking a lot of time. So the other part is the stone walls. I said I was the rock lady. I know this property, and I know there used to be stone walls all the way down West Dorsey Lane. And before Route 9 was widened on the Route 9 side, there were stone walls all the way up, and they also had to relocate a mile marker for, I can't come up with the correct name right now.
Gold Coast Road?
That was relocated because of that. So one of the challenges that I heard earlier when the EAF was being talked about, and I can't remember if it was item number 25 or item number 6 because I didn't transcribe my notes until tonight, was that this walk would take place with the planning board and you would look at stone walls and review possible use of those walls. And I really don't feel that that's even a question. I think it should be a requirement, and we ought to be seeing more stone walls on this property, on the entire parcel. Up Route 9.
It is required.
To keep in sync with the rest of Hyde Park.
It is required, but we did not,
Okay.
it's not required to have the stone walls line Route 9. The requirement is that the applicants undertake as much diligence as they can to where most of the walls that we've seen there, and we've walked the site as well, are rubble walls, we'd call them now. They used to be dry stacked, they're kind of rubbly. So the applicants have proposed, there's no way you can see it right here, but That's the oh, there we go. The applicants have proposed, slow down there. Stone walls are located right along here, along this side, and this material, yeah. Yeah. Right. So, and the materials are, much of them will be reutilized from rock that's on site. The other item, just before we go on to answer a couple of other questions, the building height, that was reviewed as part of the original concept approval. Unless there's new information, it would be very difficult for this board to go against what was already approved by a town board, and they approved a 5-story building. That's why I mentioned that the fire department had not weighed in yet on it, but and we also, as I said, had approved a 5-story building across the way on the CIA site. And I believe at least some of what's guiding my ability to judge this is that you already have some massive buildings at the CIA site, and so you're going to have one more here. I should add that the 5 stories that's shown, oh, I must be fading. Yep, the 5-story building that's shown there was supposed to be over here. This was a 3-story building, so we're looking at the visual impacts of it moving but it's essentially moving 2 extra stories across the way, that's all.
I still hold on the comment.
No. I'm not trying to cite. It's just how I'm thinking personally.
The stone walls line Route 9, not the interior of the property, and in keeping with the aesthetics of Hyde Park. And after I listened to the woman who presented the Hyde Park initiative, I believe that we should use what she said, and that is that Hyde Park already has the elements, and we should incorporate them into what our vision is and what we want to see. The other comment was that this is a one-shot deal. Once it's built, it's done. So we have to live with it, okay? As with some other, not as with, because Marriott is a multi-million-dollar business, I don't suspect or expect that it would fail. But the rest of the project could be impacted based on other projects in town. So I think that gives us more reason to focus on this spot. I've heard it over and over from this board that this will define Hyde Park, we will see it. So I'm just reiterating what I keep hearing, and I am very serious about that and for future use. The comment on the 5 stories in the large buildings at the culinary, they're at a much lower elevation than West Dorsey Lane. And the site, I already commented on the size versus the acreage, so I'll skip that. And also that it would set the standards and expectations for future development in Hyde Park. Okay, I think that it's a little too institutional looking still, and it's not very inviting as a hotel, and I'm entitled to my opinion. So that's my comment on that. I did hear a lot of conversation from the board on different materials, and I'm not saying we need to start all over again, but the brick is like really too bricky for a 5-story structure in the town of Hyde Park. I still feel that based on the acreage that it should have been better spread throughout the property. I don't know if this is a separate piece or parcel of the 338 acres, so it's really not 338 acres we're talking about when we address this hotel, but I'm pretty sure it's not. It's a separate parcel, I believe.
This is all one parcel. This is proposed
Okay,
to
so
be a
it's
separate
338,
parcel.
okay.
It's actually 339 to be technical, and
Okay.
much of the site, if you want to show a bigger version of the overall concept plan, is not usable.
I realize that.
Yeah, so this,
And
this
basically
entire
that was
area,
because of beavers.
yeah,
No
that entire
beavers.
area back there is, Larry used the term DEC regulated wetlands. I believe that they're not mapped. Thanks.
But they're treating them as
There you
if
go.
they are.
They're not mapped, they're treated as though they are, so the area, if, in the original proposal,
There you go.
there was supposed to be a golf course back here. So this area is left for, I can't even see the laser myself there. This area is left for passive recreation. And even though this will be a community unto itself, as I believe Mr. Dinsmore said, there are trails and linkages. That's why we talked about how important they are, that will link you ultimately, we hope, to trails across the way so you could actually then travel on Farm Lane between the two presidential historic sites,
Yep.
or three, I should say. So, and that's why, while this may look big there, in the context of what's approved, this is a pretty large amount of commercial area. I believe what was approved was 1,050,000 square feet, gross square feet of commercial. That commercial wasn't all retail. There was office and work above, or live work above some of the retail that was planned and through there. So, in other words, to me, when you're just seeing this, and I understand this does look plenty large, and it does tower over Dorsey, so to speak, there's actually a 250-foot buffer right there that's required by our code, and 150 along this way for structures. And that's why Mr. Boudreau mentioned adding there some landscaping along here to screen the residential uses along here and here from the site, as well as in through here to, again, we don't want to occlude the view. As you drive up, we want you to see, oh, there's my hotel. At the same time, we don't want it to be bare. It needs to have a, I believe what the code requires is a park-like environment around it. So think of trees that are limbed up and not all brushy so that you can see through up to the site.
Okay. So then onto the parking spaces and sizes. I don't know if this still holds true, but we used to have something to that effect in the Hyde Park Code, but then there was the state ADA there was a difference between parking sizes that we would be able to request in site plans versus what the state regulated size was. And I don't know how
Ours are
many
9 by 18, and that's also okay for ADA parking stall, but the area next to it has to obviously be open.
Okay. Because I do know that some of the parking that we have instituted in the town of Hyde Park in our plazas is inadequate for the normal-sized person to get out of their car. And I just want that to publicly be known. I don't think it isn't known. I think it's a shame, actually.
As you know, all we do is enforce what's written.
Right.
That would have to be an actual change in the code.
We used to have two sizes, Hyde Park and State, so I don't know whether that was changed
We
or
still,
not.
when we approved Mavis for the town center north side, we discovered that some of their parking was 9 by 18, others were 10 by 20, so it'll now be all standard. I think that may be what you're talking about. There used to be different sizes.
I don't know about the different, but I would like the biggers because it is a, there will be a lot of traffic in there. And in the EAF, there was a, I don't know if it was a number 6 or not, about the noise and when we were going to allow the construction and the noise to take place, but I was just wondering if that contradicts town code and why we would deviate from that.
So as part of the mitigation that was envisioned from the original plan, they are not allowed to do construction after, the town code would be 6 in the morning till 9 p.m. The town code for noise is what would disturb a reasonable person. I can tell you that it's not really much enforceable. So
I thought it was 8, sorry.
No.
8 a.m., okay.
No, it's really early.
Okay.
The applicants are working up a noise mitigation plan. Also, if there's blasting, they'll have to fulfill several protocols.
Great.
To answer, I hope, a couple of questions as well, or comments. The area that they've chosen for the hotel and through here is relatively, I don't want to say it's all flat, 'cause it's not. It's higher over here, then it slopes down, and then it slopes up steeply back along here. So there will be cut and fill. But this area is actually fairly well suited, only in my opinion, to a structure and a parking area and through there. Again, they'll have to do more fill over here, and then it doesn't really drop down steeply until right over there and right up here. And like I said, then there's a big steep increase at one point along the way. One of the reasons why this area, why this development is also concentrated in this one area is as you go north in the center of the site, you start having really dramatic, I mean like 25% grade increases. So to avoid massive cutting and filling of that area, those areas are left intact and not proposed any development on them either. So that's why everything's shifted into the central area.
I think it was a dairy farm. It just came to me. I forgot to mention that earlier. I think it was a dairy farm because the buildings that are still there were that, and it was a butcher. It was a slaughterhouse, the two-story structure.
There was an abattoir, right.
Okay. Okay, the name Bellefield bothers me because it's not even in the location of Bellefield. Just a comment, it's a personal comment. We already have a Bellefield. And the phasing portion, I think that needs to be more clearly documented on this project, because there's been a lot of applications that never go through. And this is an enormous project. This is probably the biggest project, if it does go through as proposed, that we've ever had in Hyde Park, because everything else has fallen through. Okay. And the mail delivery subject from the last meeting on private road does not happen, except I did try to get in touch with the postmaster to confirm that, and that's generally why there's a cluster of mailboxes at the end of any private road. That's as far as they're committed to go. So when we talked about that during the development of the housing, it's something that needs to be considered as
Not
it
just
gets
the housing.
dedicated.
Not just the housing.
Well, I caught that on the housing project piece.
But the hotel, too.
All right,
The hotel as
I don't
well.
know about that, but anything that's going to be adopted by the town should be considered ahead of time. I have no idea how I'm going to transcribe these notes in the future, but let's see. Bus stop. That was my other thing that I observe as I travel Route 9 at minimum twice a day from here for 10 miles south. We have no adequate bus stops, and that's something that we probably want to bring up with DOT, county, whoever's in charge of that, because those are the folks that are hanging out on the stone walls that my Hyde Park Visual Environment volunteers very painfully rebuild every couple of years or every year with their groceries, their bags, their carts. And this site is just going to be another one of them that needs some kind of covered seating for buses. And I know that there was a discussion about internal buses going through the site, but that doesn't preclude
Not county loop
students and
bus.
everybody.
This is not county loop bus system. That's not going to
Right.
go on private roads. It will not go on
Well, I'm
private roads.
talking about
And it would be
outside.
Cynthia Ruiz of the
It
Dutchess
stops
County.
now outside this,
It
right
stops right
here at
there.
the corner, correct.
But may I point out that the county loop system will stop for anyone, anywhere along the highway.
Well,
All you have to do is be on the route and wave your hand. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying that the applicants should be putting a bus stop there or some sort of
no,
covered
I'm
shelter?
just saying that as we progress, there already is a bus stop there and people stand there. And there are designated bus stops along Route 9. They
That's one of
recently
them.
put up these little signs that
Right,
I just
that's one of them.
noticed. But there's no place for anybody to stop and wait for that bus. So naturally, they're going to be sitting around. So it's just something to consider with the volume of people that you intend on busing or taking a different bus or mode of transportation to this site and to other sites. I'm not saying it's this applicant. I am saying it should be taken up with the state or the county or
No, no,
whoever
no.
it is
This
that's
would be
stopping.
Cynthia Ruiz
Okay.
of the county.
Okay.
That's who you would take it up with, and it wouldn't be the applicants because it would not be on their property. It would be on DOT right-of-way.
Well, I think it would be Hyde Park's obligation to contact.
And you need
them
to bring
as
that up
part
with the
of
town board.
Whatever. It's on record now, so wherever it should be brought up. And the lighting should be consistent throughout the site for future planning for those residential areas in the back. So the standard light that was just like a baluster type lamp would probably not be aesthetically pleasing as that housing is proposed or developed. So it's generally
I'm not sure
easier-
which light you're referring to.
There were two, on the plans, there were two lights.
One is a
for
Cobra
the site.
style. Mhm.
One
One
was
is a
for the
Cobra
parking
style.
lot and one was for the Route 9 view. And I think.
Not the Route 9 view. That's the pedestrian lighting along the sidewalk. That's why it's at 12 feet.
Okay. So all I'm saying is for future aesthetics and for residents and also for the people that are traveling down West Dorsey Lane or that live off West Dorsey Lane, it would be nice to have some kind of consistency there instead of having.
We've already
fully-
told that to the applicants, that what they said will be standards throughout the site.
And I was wondering if all those outcroppings, all the rock is going to be removed on West Dorsey? Is that all going to be blasted out?
You'll need to take a
and
look at the
leveled,
plans
or-
because, no, they're not,
Okay.
it's not all going to be
Okay.
taken out.
Okay, that's it for
Most
now.
of the development is, again, it's central and it goes along a north-south spine. It doesn't go deep into the site. What's proposed closest to Dorsey would be in the rear or the far eastern part of the site, which would be housing. That's what's currently proposed, that's what's currently on the approved concept plan. That may change. And by the way, phasing is something that we've been discussing. It's kind of hard to nail down right now just because of the market. As you're aware, some housing is coming back right now, but there doesn't seem to be a demand for single family or for large. It seems to be rentals and smaller footprint housing. So I know that they're meeting constantly with realtors to discuss what kind of housing might go back there at some point.
Understood. But as things develop or progress, it was approved in 19 whatever, it was approved in 2005, it was approved in 2007. And that is the standard that we really don't need to have to face in the future, as I've already indicated with the failed developments here in Hyde Park.
As you know, we can't bind the hands
know.
of future
I know
planning
that.
boards. If they
I know
say, oh, we
that.
hate those lights,
I
we
know.
want something,
I know.
that's the way it's going to be, but we're trying our best, I'll put it that way.
I know you are. Thank you. That's all
Thanks.
I have for now. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Ms. Vental, do you guys want to approach back up again? And I know you took copious notes. I watched you. It's good. So if I could summarize this portion of the public hearing, the first, I've lost track. So let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 speakers were all speaking in favor, particularly because of the economic impacts toward a hotel in the area in general and to the county. And then amongst Ms. Prinobuco's comments were items such as the architecture, seeing less stone, looking less institutional, looking at the size of spaces and parking, making sure that we figure out what the mail delivery on private roads is going to be, consider a bus stop, which I think would need to be the town board discussing that with the county transportation department, making sure that the lighting styles are consistent, which we can certainly add notes to the plan for an approval, and then maybe adding more stone walls along 9. I should add that under our code, a stone wall is a structure, and that would require a variance. I know, sorry. So I also point out that even though it sounds nice to put it along Route 9, there is a drainage swale that basically starts at the beginning near Dorsey and goes all the way up. It'd be very difficult to put a stone wall with DOT approval, I believe, in an area for drainage. But it's certainly something that the board can consider. Any comments from the board based on public comment tonight before we move to adjourn this? When would you like to have this adjourned to? I'm just throwing it on the spot for you. We were going to try to think about doing 2 months. That doesn't preclude you from coming back in every 2 weeks if you want to speak to us and work through things. But we didn't know if it would be helpful to have public comment throughout that time period.
We definitely want to keep coming to the board every 2 weeks and work through all of it.
You are welcome.
Yeah, we're just talking about the
public
next-
hearing.
The public
Public
hearing.
hearing.
Ah.
They've heard.
Okay.
You have to stay this time, that means. So anyway, but no, seriously, when would you like us to adjourn the public hearing to? A month, 2 months? What's your preference?
2017, 2018.
Well, I mean, the first response was 2 weeks, but I guess you don't think.
If you want us to keep opening the public hearing, we can. That's just up to you, seriously.
Well, you're going to be recirculating to the agencies immediately, so how about if we continue the public hearing 1 month?
Great. So that would be December the 4th or 5th, I believe? 6th? Whoops, okay. Making a motion to continue the public hearing to December 6th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And if there's anything in the meantime that you need, particularly with landscaping?
Yeah.
And Mr. Mulroy, as I said, think about what you want to do, because I don't want there to be another variance later on for that covered bridge. If you want to propose it, propose it.
I don't know who that is.
Good.
We would like to be on the agenda in 2 weeks, though.
Sure.
for the
Sure.
workshop.
Yeah, not a
Always
problem.
welcome.
And we are trying to nail down the list of variances, so we'll be contacting the.
That's right,
zoning
and I am remiss. I told you to get that started early, and now because of what happened with the Department of Health and the whole change in the septic, that would have been stupid, because you don't need to go for all of those. That's why I was saying, I think the covered bridge idea is nice in theory, but again, if it requires a variance, that's up to you guys. That's not true. I shouldn't say that. I love for you guys to get variances. It just adds time. That's all. It just adds time. So, and once they start adding more and more, then it takes them a little bit longer, like it does us. So, anything else for tonight?
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
You're into the resolution, right?
Yes, thank you.
You knew that.
Resolution?
You do.
Okay. Resolution to circulate revised environmental assessment form to involved agencies. St. Andrews at historic Hyde Park, now known as BELLEFIELD. November 1st, 2017, Resolution 2017-04B. Whereas. Going and whereas. And another whereas that is the reason why we have a revised environmental assessment form. And that whereas is the applicant has subsequently modified the project to eliminate a proposed septic disposal system for the hotel and construct in its place the first phase of a modular wastewater treatment plant. And whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby directs its secretary to provide all interested agencies with a copy of the revised EAF for comment.
Second.
Pardon?
Involved, I think we just said involved, right?
She wants to know the chicken or the pig.
Nope, you said it correctly. It was typed in as interested. So may I get a second on the revised?
Second on the amended.
Thank you, the amended. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll see you in 2 weeks and get this going. Thanks.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a site plan waiver request from the NITAHARAs, if I'm saying that correctly. Thank you for letting me use that. This is a one-story addition for a home located at 5 Rogers Place. As a reminder, this is in a SAS, or a scenic area of statewide significance. However, we have a recommendation from the zoning administrator. In addition, the home is not visible from the river or the 2 historic sites that give rise to the SAS. Who has this resolution?
I do.
Town of Hyde Park Planning Board, Kelly Dristina and Lance Daniel NITAHARA, 5 Rogers Place, site plan waiver. November 1st, 2017, resolution number 2017-48. Whereas a request for site plan waiver has been made to the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board by Lance NITAHARA for an addition in the rear of a single-family home requiring a building permit, and whereas, therefore be it resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board hereby waives site plan requirements for the proposed changes as described in the building permit received by the Building Department and per the request to the Planning Board dated October 26, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a sign permit recommendation for both a wall and a projecting sign for Bayview Contracting. This will be going into or onto the site of 4302 Albany Post Road. For people who've been here a while and remember, that was where you used to see Elite Property Management, and Ms. Heinz Schaefer is here. Do you want to tell us something about the sign or the business or anything else?
Or it used to be Gaffney's.
Oh, it was Gaffney's a long time ago.
And it was a florist
It was Hyde Park
shop.
floor. Yep. Well,
Yeah. Yes, that's where my wedding bouquet was made.
Oh, yeah, no, Kate Hinge Schaefer with Riverwood Signs. We submitted a couple of variations and finally came up with something that I hope works. There really is, it's difficult when you're dealing with a contracting company, and he's, from what I'd heard, going to have a showroom here. So
that's what the sign says.
This is what the sign says, only on the wall sign, because I didn't think it was necessary to reiterate, and this is quite a large wall sign. That being said, it would be nice if we could, if I could work with him to, help maybe spruce up the front of this building a little bit. Unfortunately, the photo that I clipped off of the internet is not representative of what it looks like now. And I erroneously wrote that there was red trim on the building in my letter, There is not red trim on the building. It's sort of a cream-colored trim. However, unity of design for the signs, nearly impossible to accomplish when you're dealing with the neighboring building. The best I could come up with was a color scheme.
I just want to say thank you for writing the narrative to submit. We have a recommendation from Tad because it is code compliant. She was convinced by your narrative on design unity because, no, it's very specific in the code. When we change the signs, it can be done through combination of colors, font, similar shapes, etc. I'll just point out that when I looked closely at the sign, I thought, I wish it could just have the small inner sign that has the removed corners.
Oh, you did say that? I put that on there. I didn't know your comment was that.
I liked it. I thought it was really nice. I thought that was nice.
I thought after I looked at it a while, it looks like a razor blade, but I'm okay with that. Removing tar paper roofs or something. But yeah, so we'll be working with him hopefully from, on and off.
It would be nice to spruce up the exterior. Any comments from the board? No. Who has this resolution?
I do.
Yes, I'm sorry, there are two resolutions.
There's two. I have both. Resolution recommendation for issuance of sign permit pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24-3A 4D. Resolution 2017-47, whereas, be it resolved that the board hereby recommends the zoning administrator issue the sign permit for the Bayview contracting projecting sign based on the drawing by the River Road. It must have been that site walk today. I can't speak. On the drawing by the Riverwood Signs latest revision of 10/18/2017 and received on 10/31/2017.
Is there
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Resolution 2017-47A, whereas, be it resolved, the board hereby recommends the zoning administrator issue the sign permit for the Bayview contracting wall sign based on the drawings by Riverwood Signs. Latest revision.
refreshments today on
Not the right time.
I missed them if they were.
Latest revision date 10/17/2017 and submitted by email on 10/31/2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
My apologies.
That's okay.
We knew
It's
what
the
you
R and the W, I guess, tonight that's hard on her. Kate, it's good to see you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you very much. And again, that's tremendous, that thing that's coming off the record. But
Thank you.
excited about that.
The next item on the agenda is Empire Auto Solutions. The applicants are also seeking a sign permit recommendation for a freestanding sign. The sign, if you've had a chance to, we've all had a chance to look at it, is actually pretty attractive. This is where, for anyone still watching, Brady Motors used to be.
Yep. There's been a series of them.
Right, and interestingly, the site owner kept the license to sell the used vehicles up, which is why the lapse used to not lapse in over a year. Tad made, this was worked through.
That was going to be my question.
This was worked through cleverly by Ms. Moss
Okay.
to help them. And when we met the Empire Auto Solutions owner, he does intend on coming back at some point in the spring to clean up the site. He'd like to pave instead of where it's all dirt and gravel right now. And interestingly, he not only sells used vehicles, or as they now say, gently pre-owned, he also has a fleet. And ever since he told me about it, as I drive around, I see the Empire logo on the backs of vehicles all the time. It's like
Kind of an Uber.
I don't want to say an Uber because he has licensed drivers
your
that are
own car.
professionals. No, it's his own car, but it's not. It's also he owns the car, the fleet. They'll be stored there in addition to automobiles for sale. But you can call and have them take you to, say, the grocery store or the airport, whatever. And they're not limousines either. They're, I think, hybrid vehicles that are both electric and fuel. So this is a business I think that's kind of fun to have come here in Hyde Park because he's a very forward-thinking young man, from what I could tell. So who has this resolution?
I do.
Thank you.
Resolution recommendation for issuance of sign permit pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.3A4D, Empire Auto Solutions, 4960 Albany Post Road, freestanding. Resolution number 2017-49, whereas, be it resolved that the board hereby recommends the zoning administrator issue the sign permit for Empire Auto Solutions based on the drawing by Timely Signs latest revision date 10/30/2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. And the last item on the agenda tonight is a motion to formally recommend that I send the recommendation for, to the ZBA on
The Creek Park.
Creek Park Mobile Homes.
Very well written, and
Thank you.
as always, and thank you so much for always doing such a great job.
It's why they pay the chair the big bucks.
Oh, I know,
The
I
big
know,
$0
I know.
bucks. So,
I'd like to make that motion.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good, because I already sent it over because the ZBA needed it before their meeting. And at the last meeting, you did authorize me to send it. I just wanted to make sure we had it on the record that it was once it was written. And that's it for tonight. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for the site walk, time submitted to the site walk today. That was very productive. I actually look forward to walking it again with Ann so I can now see where the buildings are going to be. I'll add that one thing I learned is that the parking area makes the whole site where the hotel is double what the building is.
Right.
Because it's as big as the building, if not a little bit bigger.
Right.
And then you combine the roadway around it, and it's actually a very big site. But it's the first step in something I think will benefit the town in the long run.
It's a large development.
So any other comments, any new business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mike had noted down that considering the elevations of that building, being 5-story.
Yeah.